Nobody ever dreamt of this happening ever. Every think tank, every PhD from the biggest organizations, institutes told us that the Israelis and the Arabs or the Gulf countries are never going to interact and cooperate together until the Palestinian problem was solved. The Abraham Accords changed everything. Unbelievable. Nobody gives enough credit to that administration, immaterial of what your feelings are or your.
Hello and welcome to another video from Sales Adda. Sales Adda is a community for sales professionals, a place for us to meet, share, learn, and grow.
Welcome back to another episode of Conversations at Grow Global Sales. And this is our weekly talk with Praveen about news in the world and how this impacts us as global sales leaders. Praveen, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Zach. It's great to be back again. It's one of those interesting weeks you've had across the world.
Great. And we said that we were going to talk. You came up with a great subject to talk about, which is close to my heart and close to your heart and will probably impact a lot of interesting business, was the new Israel UAE agreement they're exchanging. Are they exchanging full ambassadors or consulars at this point?
Okay, I'd like to step a couple of months ago or a few months back and start with the history a little bit, if it's okay. I think nobody ever dreamt of this happening ever. Every think tank, every PhD from the biggest organizations, institutes told us that the Israelis and the Arabs or the Gulf countries are never going to interact and cooperate together until the Palestinian problem was solved. The Abraham Accords changed everything. Unbelievable. Nobody gives enough credit to that administration, immaterial of what your feelings are or your to the President Trump's administration. I think the Abraham Accords were fantastic. They've actually changed the way we look at the world. I waited for it and I didn't talk about it simply because I wanted to see if this will actually work. The last few months have shown something very interesting. Israel had a problem with Hamas, and this accord still stood because
that's very true. Very true.
I hope I'm pronouncing this name correctly. Mr. Yair Lapid, who's the foreign minister of Israel, the new foreign minister of Israel, visited United Arab Emirates. They're planning to start 2 embassies and a consulate office. One is in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and in Dubai.
Right.
This, I think, is fantastic development for the region because these are really large economies for the size of the countries they are, and with which they bring a whole lot of different skills, technologies, money that fits very well in the world economy. And I think it's going to be very interesting times if you're a salesperson in that region.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I agree with you. And I think, we talk about from a perspective of business and sales, but I'll tell you what, I think also the normalization of getting Israeli business people connected with Arab business people in the Gulf. And let's keep in mind, let's remember that a large percentage of the people running businesses on the ground in the Emirates are Palestinians. They're Palestinians, they're Jordanians, they're Lebanese, they're Egyptians. And the more those people meet Israelis, get to know them, see them as people, and vice versa, the more this is going to drive peace in general. And very frankly, I like money and I like business, but I've always also thought that one of the great things about international trade is that it drives progress. It brings more goods to more people. It brings peace and prosperity to a lot of people. And I think this is a great thing because in the end of the day, this has the potential for creating a lot more peace and a lot more prosperity for a lot of people, because what you said at the beginning, where everybody said there wouldn't be business in the Gulf until there was peace with the Palestinians. Well, there's a chance business in the Gulf will help drive peace with the Palestinians. So in the end of the day, more people could benefit. Now, sorry.
No, I think it's fantastic because, I mean, you're absolutely right. And there's a whole bunch of these economies that are really large, put together, they're quite large. And if they all work together, it's going to make the world much more richer.
Right. And they really complement each other because the Emirates have natural resources. I'll tell you what, they actually have a good core of educated people. But what they don't have to a large extent that Israel has, Israel teaches a lot more about imagination, ingenuity, being an entrepreneur, that kind of thing, which you don't see a lot of in the Gulf. And I've actually spoken to people at very high levels in the governments in the Gulf who have said that they really want to encourage the type of education they have in Israel that really teaches entrepreneurship and teaches ingenuity and teaches imagination. So this could really complement the two economies. And I think it's going to be a great thing.
Let me add an Indian angle to this conversation.
Please, of course. And that's really good. I know where you're going, and I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
So this is a piece from the Arab Gulf States Institute in Washington. This came out sometime in April this year, 2021. And I'm going to read this out for you so that I don't make a mistake. So I'm just reading a paragraph from here. The diamond industry makes up a particular large portion of both Israeli and Emirati exports. According to the Observatory of Economic Complexity Statistics, Israel exports 11.2 billion worth of diamonds and UAE exports 9 billion in 2019. A major destination of these two exports for both countries is India. Ding, nobody thought of that before. With 1/4 of its diamonds imported from both countries in 2019. Recognizing the potential for partnership, Israel and UAE signed an agreement to work together in the diamond industry. And in September 2020, trilateral diamond trade with India was highlighted as an opportunity by the head of Dubai Multi-Commodity Center. I don't think anybody even thought of this.
No.
Nobody thought.
And I'll tell you what, you think about how many Indians work in the Gulf, right? How many Indians work with Israelis? I mean, India is full of Israeli medical products. India imports arms from Israel. India imports telecommunications equipment. There's a lot of cooperation with software. I was once in a restaurant in Mumbai. I don't know if you've ever been to Bukhara in Mumbai. It was it was a really nice old school place, very close to the government offices. And you'd always find ministers of, various people there from the government and from the big business and all of that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, there was a waiter there. And one day I'm sitting at a table with some Israelis speaking Hebrew, and he starts talking Hebrew to us. And he said, I remember his name was Paul. This was probably 20 years ago. And I know he's dead now. But he had spent a few years in Israel working in an Indian restaurant back when there weren't any Indian restaurants in Israel, and he had learned Hebrew. So there's a big connection between Israel and India.
Right.
There's a connection between India and the Emirates. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity for this to develop and be great for everybody. And I think this is going to be interesting. Now, in terms of what this means for your average person doing international business, well, I think it opens up a lot because if you go back 20 years ago, people were a little bit suspicious in the Arab countries about products because there were limitations and they didn't want to get in trouble with their government. and this type of thing. And this takes
Right.
this off the table. You can't, if the government is saying you can buy Israeli products, they can't slow down on anything, right? They basically, everything is acceptable. It's all about good business and not necessarily politics. And I think this is going to be good for everybody, because whatever country you're coming from and selling, you don't have to be worried. I think, we're heading in a direction where you don't have to be worried that the government is going to say, you know what, we really don't want to, we'd rather not be doing business with this country. We'd rather be doing business with that country. If they're willing to do business with Israel, everything works, everything's on the table, and it's all about business now. And I think this is great for everybody.
Correct. And continuing in that same vein, for the average salesperson, for the small companies, yes, there will be the large deals, the government-to-government deals. Yes, that's okay. But for the smaller companies, especially those with Indian origins, Dubai is kind of like a trading hub for us.
Right.
And we connect with the rest of the world through Dubai.
Right.
And now there will be products and services that countries may want to buy from Israel, but they are, for whatever reason, don't want to do it directly. In which case, Dubai is a perfect hub. Two, Dubai is also has a great infrastructure and logistical connectivity, and Indians have been there for a few decades now. I think they've built enough relationships. I think there's enough salespeople there who understand how to do business. Let's say we're from Dubai and North Africa. Right. And now if you have new products coming in that you can take from Israel, that's perfectly set up for a trading business. And if you're a salesperson in the trading business, this is a high point for you. If you ever thought the business is going down, COVID or no COVID, this is great, because there's enough products, especially agricultural products. I
think you're right. There's a great opportunity for a lot of people.
And one of those things Indians import from Israel is the technology for agriculture. Yep. Especially drip irrigation and things like that.
Drip irrigation, right.
And I think that's very relevant even in many parts of Africa that may not necessarily want to do direct business with Israel. I don't know for sure, but perhaps. In which case, it's perfect. If you're a tradesperson, you're a salesperson, you want to move up, offer new products and services in some of these countries, you're well set, because you know Dubai, Israel is bringing the products. You do not have a cultural issue with any of them. Perfect.
I think you're exactly right. No, that's a great point, Praveen. Look, I think this is one of those really good days for international business, where we've seen some setbacks, we've seen things slow down. I think this is great news. Anytime two countries make peace and agree to trade and to do business together, I think it's good for everybody, and it builds peace and prosperity. So this is great, and I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for raising this idea to talk about today, Praveen.
Not at all. I really love this. This was very important for me as well. So
great.
Happy to have a conversation.
Great. All right. Well, we will thank you very much for joining us. Did any last tips or pieces of wisdom for our listeners, Praveen?
Yeah, if you want those nuggets of wisdom, you should go to my website. That's www.salesadda.org. That's SALESADDA.org. Visit our YouTube channel. I put out a few videos whenever I have the time. And reach out to me if you have any problems.
Great. And ditto here, globalsalesmentor.com. I have also a vlog and podcast and a variety of different material out there. Thank you very much, Praveen. Thank you very much, listeners, for joining us. We come back on a weekly basis to talk about subjects in current events that impact global business. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jack.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Thank you for watching. If you find the video interesting, feel free to like and share. If you'd like to receive notification of next video, press the bell icon and subscribe. Have a nice day. Goodbye. Happy hunting.